Hey, good afternoon, information technology. Sorry I cannot be there today, but we're going to try to get some progress made on our new project. This video, I am going to do a refresher about our first website that we made together. Some of you missed some classes and don't have all those details, so I'm going to do that. At the end of this video, I'll go over your new assignment to make sure you're clear about what you need to do. So if you already feel pretty confident about everything we've done so far, you can skip ahead to the end and check out what the assignment's going to be, although you have a pretty good idea already. So first of all, we'll start off with a review about what we were working on last three classes. So just so you know, an important part of web design is making sure your folder structure is correct. And some of you have never worked with folders, so that makes it pretty hard and a big learning curve, but basically a folder contains folders on their files. Every website you make, you're going to be making a folder, and it's going to contain inside of it an images folder where you'll put all of your images. You're going to have a theme file, perhaps one or more theme files, and one or more HTML files. And the combination of these things, and maybe a few other things later on, will make your website. So each web page is an HTML file. The first one's always called index, and this will have the content of your website. So the text, the pictures, the lists, all that kind of stuff will all be inside of the HTML file. The CSS file is about the style. So what colors are things colored? How are things laid out on the page? Those are all contained in the CSS file. And then the images folder contains all your pictures that you're going to have show up in your web page. So if you have that structure going on, you're doing it right. So after you get that working out, you're going to be making these files at our school computers in Notepad++. I am on my Mac, so I'm using this program. It's called Atom, and it's fantastic. So if you don't have a PC at your disposal and don't have Notepad++, then Atom is great. It looks a little different, so this video will not exactly represent what you'll see as you're working at school, but the basics are the same. This is our basic document. There is a mistake in here because I wanted to show you how you can find out what the mistakes are and how you can go and figure out what's happening in here. So don't copy this down just yet. This is our basic HTML document, and it is basically has no content but has the right structure. So I'll just go over the structure that you need, and I won't go into too much detail on the concept of HTML and such because we've done that in class a lot. I'll just talk about what the tags mean. So the first tag here, the doc type tag, just tells the web browser in which you're viewing this website what version of HTML you're using. You'll just always use this one because it's the latest version. And then your whole website is wrapped inside of an HTML tags, instead of open and close HTML tags to say, hey, this is your HTML stuff. And then we have the head section and the body section, which are separate. I'll just press enter to sort of separate that out. The head includes things for the web browser to think about, including this link tag that connects to CSS. There's a mistake in here. We're going to find out shortly, so we'll see what the problem is. And then we have the body, which is the content of your website, things like words and pictures and stuff like that. And we'll see some other tags we'll put in here as well. So that is the basic structure of a website. And once we fix this problem, we'll go and you can go ahead and type it down. Also, we have a theme file, a CSS file, and it contains this kind of information that tells us what is the style of our page. So theoretically says that everything in the body should have the background color that is pink. So yeah, we'll see if that works. So this is the code view of your website. Here's your HTML, the structure and content. Here's the theme. This is the style of your website. And then how do you view your website? If this was Notepad++, you could just run it, launch it in Chrome, but we don't have that right now. So I just have it open in the web browser and we can refresh it. So we can see that, oh darn, it's this has got the picture, it's got the word content, but the background didn't change to be pink. So this is going to be a typical exercise you'll be going through. So just to remember, things to look out for is just to make sure that you've saved your changes. So if you make a change in either your HTML file or your CSS file, make sure you save them before you try to view it in the website. And then in the web browser, I should say. And then in the web browser, don't forget to refresh to make sure that you're seeing the latest version of your web page. Another thing to make sure is that you're actually editing the right index and right theme files. As we get more and more, websites, right now we just have one, and you'll be starting a second one, you might open up the wrong one because there will be multiple index.htmls and theme.css's. So you just got to make sure you're actually editing the correct one. So if you make changes and nothing's happening, that's a problem, and that might be the solution. One last thing is that you might have just typed something in wrong. So if you see a problem here, like I'm not seeing my pink background, you might want to go and just double check that you've put everything in. So I'm having problems with CSS. So maybe there's a problem with my link tag here. Maybe there's a problem with my what I've typed in here. We're not too sure what the story is. So let's go and look. So a great resource to go check out is the developer documents for Mozilla. Mozilla is the people that make Firefox, a web browser, and they also make some spectacular guides for writing HTML. Check it out right here. CSS, and a bunch of other stuff that is, the technologies that make up the internet, at least the World Wide Web. So that's great. And, we can take a look inside any of these ones, and I recommend you do. It'll be linked on my web page for you to check out. So lots of useful links just to click through. So, sometimes, you can get yourself a little bit stuck and just have trouble searching for things. So sometimes just using Google. So for example, I'll Google HTML link CSS tag and just see, what is it supposed to be? And you can just kind of look through things and see what you can. And oh, look at that! Here's an example right here. Here's what the link tag is supposed to be. And in fact, I put name, and oh look, it's supposed to be href. Darn! So I can go back, after searching through some stuff, and make my corrections. And of course, you have notes that theoretically will help you as well. But Google and the internet is full of good help for writing web pages. If I refresh that now, so just actually I should be a little bit slower about that. So I made my change. I've saved it. Double check that that's saved as well, and then I'll go back to my browser, refresh it, and hey, I got my pink background. So that's sort of the way things will go as we go forward. All right, so we'll do a quick refresher on the different tags we learned. So first of all, inside of the body is going to be where all of your content goes. So if you want things to show up in your web page, we'll make a header to start with. This will be my web page about Batman. And H1 is the one of 6 headers you can choose, H1 through H6. And they, by default, different size, but we can later on use CSS to change those in different ways. We can make H6 the biggest one if we want to. We can apply different styles to the fonts, colors, all that stuff. So there's our title. And if we want some paragraphs, we can start putting in a P tag for making a paragraph. And I'll just throw some random stuff out there. Batman is actually Bruce Wayne, a billionaire playboy from Gotham City. And I don't know, just I could go on with more stuff, but I'm boring myself, so I'll just stop it there. Slash P, and then I'll make another paragraph just to demonstrate he is a cool superhero because he has no actual powers, just works hard and is super smart and super rich. Actually, is pretty helpful for him. Okay, there we go. There's 2 paragraphs. So if we save that now and go refresh, and I recommend you do that very often as you're starting out and as you go forward, check it out. This kitten picture is kind of out of place on a Batman website, but I am not concerned. So we got our Batman title. At the top, we have our paragraphs. And notice they're on different lines, and we can make, of course, some more text. The next thing we learned about were lists. So there's the unordered lists and the ordered lists. I'll just do an unordered list for now. We could put in maybe a title for here. We could choose an H3, slightly different. We could put things Batman loves. And we will put out, what are the things that Batman loves anyways? He loves beating up criminals. He probably loves justice. I'm pretty sure he's loving the justice. And, you know, like the third thing, I imagine he is a fan of pho. You know, delicious Vietnamese noodles soup. I don't know that for a fact. It might not be canon, but in my head canon, Batman loves pho. So I'll save that. And notice that this unordered list, when we see, after I save it, it will sort of put the bullet points behind each one. So, you know, we don't have to put those in automatically. But with CSS, we can change those to be bat symbols or something. Notice the H3 tag is a little bit smaller. It's a subheading as opposed to a complete heading. All right. We already have the CSS for, or sorry, the HTML for the image. This shows a new little trick. Not all tags are just the tag. Like, you know, image tag is a little bit more. It also includes this thing called an attribute. So the attribute always looks like this. There's a name for the attribute. This one's source, and then an equal sign, and then the value in quotations. So I am searching, or I'm trying to put this picture, kitten.jpg, into the website, and I have to make note that it's in the images folder. So make sure you got the picture in the right place. And then here's the name of the file, which includes the extension, which is hard to get right. So be careful about that, especially on our school computers where the extensions are hidden. So if you don't see it, don't panic. There's probably some minor thing you've done that we can solve when I get back. So the image tag, which puts a picture into your website. And notice that where you put the image tag determines where this picture will be. So if I put this right below the header and right above the paragraphs, save it, then the picture will appear up here, and then the paragraphs will come afterwards. So positioning of the HTML makes a big difference. I guess we should make a link. So maybe I'll put a link to something. I don't know what Batman would enjoy reading on the internet. Maybe Google News. Maybe is a good thing. So we'll put here's a link to Batman's favorite website, Google News. And what I'd like to do is turn those words there, Google News, into a clickable link that will take us to Google News. We'll refresh it and note that there is a paragraph here, but that's not clickable. And it doesn't take me anywhere. So to make that a link, first of all, just go to Google News and Google News, and I'll get Google News. And oh, I guess this is top stories, and I'll just probably do news.google.com. I'll just copy and paste it. So this text I want to turn into a link. So what I use are the A tags. A for anchor, which was going to be the name of links, but never caught on. These things became links instead of anchors, but here we are. So HTML is still based in that old language. So the A tag, this doesn't do it though. If I save that, refresh it, then nothing happens because the A tag isn't enough. It needs an attribute. So if we go back here, we can add in the attribute, which is href, and equals, and then double quotes, and then paste in the website address. It has to include the HTTP : and sometimes there's an S in there if it's a secure site. So now this anchor tag is ready to roll, and if I refresh it, we'll get a link here, and if I click it, you'll see it goes to Google News. So yay! Oh, that's kind of strange. I don't know what this news is sad and complicated. Anyways, we'll carry on with what's going on here. So we're making our way through things. There's a YouTube video embedding that we did before. I think we'll leave that for now, and you can ask me about it in class. I'm just gonna now go to the CSS side of things, and we can talk a bit about how CSS works. So what you do is you give the name of one of those tags, and then a selector and a value. A selector chooses some property, some component of the web page, and then the value is how we're going to change it. So for example, if we want to change the backgrounds of the website's color, then you can, with the body tag, select background color and give it a value. Notice that a colon separates the selector from the value, and the line ends with a semicolon. Always, every time. It's the same rule every time. So for example, you could do a few other things for styling. You could choose also color. That's the color of the text. So we can make the color of the text red, which is going to be really ugly. And you know what? I can live with that. But see, it changes. And notice what I did there? I just saved the CSS, and went and refreshed and saw the difference. I guess it's Batman, so we could do some yellow text and some black background. This is not necessarily more beautiful, but decidedly more Batman-y. So we'll make some progress on that. Yeah, it's pretty ugly, but that's okay. And then you can select other tags to change things. So for example, H1, you can style those separately. So maybe you want them to be bigger. You could choose font size and make them whatever size you want. I'm not sure what the current size is, the default size, so I'll make it 30 pt, and I'll go and refresh here, and we'll see, it got bigger. We can change the font itself, so font family, and we can choose different fonts. I like all sorts of fonts, so I'll go with Bandana for now, and refresh, and notice that just the H1 is changing. It's not all the other things, because this is specifically rules for H1s. If I was to put family of Verdana into body, then all the fonts will change. Everything becomes Verdana, and that's probably not a bad thing. So we'll carry on with some more rules. I think one of the obvious rules that we need here is this website's kind of stuck in the corner. It'd be nice to sort of center it and move it around. To do that, we want to kind of select, we want to wrap our content in a box. And boxes in HTML are called divs. So what I'm going to do is make a div tag in the HTML, and I'm going to go to the bottom, just put it between a div and a slash div. So everything is between here and here. And then this becomes a box. If I save it, it's invisible. You won't see nothing. You'll see no change. But the div tags can be styled. So in my CSS, I can now make some div, and I can have some fun with that. I can make a width for that. So I can say like 500 pixels, and I can make it have a border, and I can make it a 1 pixel yellow solid border, and then I can give it a separate background color. Maybe I'll make it just slightly dark black, not quite full black. If you want to get specific colors, you need to find out the hex code for them. If you just Google search HTML color codes or hex codes, you'll find a million websites that allow you to go and select the color. And what you get is this hex code here. It'll always be 6 digits with possibly some letters in it. So for example, maybe I'll get this dark gray, and look at that, 36, 36, 36. I mean, I will definitely go with that. To get one of these custom codes, you can just put a hashtag and then the code, and then save it and refresh it. And then, oh, I guess we're not quite done. Sorry, I'll just finish up. You can also add in padding, which will be some space inside the border, between the border and the content. I'll put 20 pixels. And then margin, these are the spacing outside the border. So I'll do margin left separately. We'll make it auto, which means it'll just sort of auto-calculate it to center it. Same with margin right, I'll do auto, and then it'll center it. Put a bit of margin on the top to push it down. Margin on the bottom, I guess, doesn't really matter too much, but we'll keep it symmetrical. And then we'll refresh. And now our page is sort of contained in this little box. It's still pretty ugly, but it's starting to actually, take on some of the characteristics of a web page. So there we go. Lots more things for us to style. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that. There's many more CSS selectors to learn about and study. So I'll turn you over to this website over here, the Mozilla Web Docs, and I will suggest that you take a look at the CSS section. I'll link this on the website below the video link, and there's all sorts of tutorials that you can go and learn tons of stuff. There's thousands and thousands of selectors and many different ways to mix them together for cool effects. So a good place to be would be to learn over here with some CSS tutorials. You could take out an introduction to CSS to just get some more solid foundation. And then we got styling text, which is obviously about making it look good. It gets pretty advanced in here, so lots of cool stuff. Or you could just kind of surface level take a peek at it. Styling boxes is about divs. So you can take a look at that specifically for lining things up and making them look good, having separate style for different things. So that's a good place to start would be the text and boxes. I think in particular inside of styling text, look about styling links separately, lists separately, and things like topics like web fonts would be good things to check out to find out about what you need to style. And of course, you're going to make your own web page for this assignment. So I would recommend that you pick your topic. We already talked about that last class, so hopefully you had some success in coming up with one over the weekend. Pick your topic, whatever you like, and you're going to make your website. You're going to have some basic content, a couple paragraphs, at least one image. Put in a list and a link just to make sure you have something to style. And then after you've created that content, you're going to create a style sheet to style that topic in an appropriate way. So if I chose Batman, it shouldn't be all rainbow colors and Comic Sans. It should be kind of dark and gritty and full of justice, whatever that means in terms of style. We'll talk when I get back about sort of the specific outcomes, but basically, you're going to want to style everything that is in your HTML. So figure out unique styles that go for even down to images and H1 tags and lists and all that stuff. And you'll be evaluated both in terms of just completion and making sure that you get all of these elements styled and have attempted to style each of these elements, as well as a um, overall sort of quality mark of how well did you capture the style of your topic and just how did it turn out? Does it look nice? Does it look ugly? Those are obviously difficult things, especially if you're not an artist or don't have a good sense of what looks good. So that's a conversation we'll be having over the next couple of classes as we work on this project. I'll just be coming around once I'm back, looking at your page and giving you some suggestions of things you can do to make it look better. Okay? Well, thanks everybody. I hope you have a successful class today, and we'll see you when I get back.